The studio lights gleamed across the glossy stage floor of Today with Jenna Friends. It was meant to be a cheerful Friday morning episode, filled with laughter, music, and casual conversation. Blake Shelton, one of country music's biggest stars, had been invited as the headline guest to promote his new album and talk about his upcoming tour. Producers expected a warm, engaging interview, while Blake's natural charm and humor usually made him a favorite among audiences. But from the very moment he walked onto the stage, something felt slightly off. Blake appeared relaxed at first, his cowboy boots tapping lightly against the studio floor as he greeted Jenna Bush-Hager and the other hosts. He wore his signature denim jacket, a plaid shirt, and that familiar grin that made him seem approachable despite his superstar status. The audience applauded loudly, clearly thrilled to see him. Jenna leaned in warmly, offering him a hug, and said, "Blake, we are so excited to have you here today. It's always a party when you come around." Blake chuckled, adjusting the microphone clip to his shirt. "Well, I hope so," he replied, flashing his trademark smile. "Yeah, all better not put me to sleep with boring questions." The crowd laughed, but Jenna noticed a certain edge in his tone. The interview started smoothly enough. They talked about his latest single, how he balanced his busy schedule with life on his ranch, and even touched on his marriage to Gwen Stefani. The audience loved it. Blake cracked a few jokes, teasing Jenna about how she might not survive a day on his farm, and Jenna countered by reminding him that she had grown up around Texas ranch life herself. Everything seemed perfectly fine. But then, the tone shifted. Jenna steered the conversation toward a topic she thought would be lighthearted: Blake's reputation for being outspoken, even blunt, in interviews and on social media. "Blake, you've never been one to shy away from speaking your mind," she began. "Do you ever worry that sometimes your honesty ruffles feathers?" Blake leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. His smile faltered just a bit. "You know, Jenna, that's one of those questions that people love to ask me. And I'll tell you the same thing I tell everyone else. Yeah, I don't lose sleep over whether people like what I say or not. I'd rather be real than fake." The audience applauded, but there was a noticeable tension in his voice. Jenna pressed further, perhaps not realizing that she was stepping into more dangerous territory. "But don't you think, in today's world, where words can spread so fast, that being a little more careful might actually help your career?" Blake narrowed his eyes slightly. "Are you saying I should just bite my tongue and pretend to be someone I'm not?" Jenna shifted in her chair. "Not at all, Blake. I just think people look up to you, and with that comes responsibility." The tension in the room thickened. A few audience members glanced at each other, sensing that what had started as a fun interview was turning into something else entirely. Blake's voice grew louder, sharper. "I've been in this business long enough to know who I am. I'm not here to be a role model. I sing songs, I tell stories, and I'm myself. If people can't handle that, maybe they're the problem, not me." The room went silent for a moment before Jenna tried to lighten the mood with a small laugh. "Well, I guess you're proving my point right now." Blake didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned forward, placing his hands on his knees, his face serious. "No, what I'm proving is that I don't play games. People in this industry, talk shows, journalists, they all want you to fit in a little box. Well, I don't fit, and I'm not going to sit here and let you suggest I need to." The audience gasped softly. Jenna looked stunned, and the other co-hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure how to intervene. One of them attempted to change the subject, asking Blake about his new music video, but Blake was clearly still fired up. "See, this is exactly what I mean," he continued, his voice rising. "Everybody wants to move on when things get uncomfortable, but maybe it's time people heard the truth. I'm tired of being told how to act, what to say, or how to polish my image. I'm a country boy from Oklahoma. What you see is what you get." The tension was now undeniable. The cheerful atmosphere the producers had envisioned was gone, replaced by a raw, almost combative energy. The studio audience wasn't sure whether to clap, stay quiet, or laugh nervously. Some looked thrilled to be witnessing a moment that clearly wasn't scripted. Others looked uneasy, like they were watching a train derail in real time. Jenna tried one more time to calm things down. "Blake, I don't think anyone's asking you to change who you are. I just think sometimes, especially in front of millions of fans, it helps to That's when Blake cut her off. Jenna, with all due respect, you don't know what it's like to walk in my boots. You don't know the pressure, the scrutiny, or the constant noise. So don't sit there and tell me how I should act. The audience erupted in gasps and murmurs. Jenna's face went pale for a moment before she forced a small, tight smile. The producers, watching nervously from behind the cameras, began frantically signaling to each other. They hadn't anticipated this level of confrontation, especially not from Blake, who usually charmed his way through interviews. Then, Blake did something no one expected. He stood up. The entire audience hushed as he adjusted his jacket and looked around the studio. "You know what, I don't need this," he said firmly. "I came here to talk about my music, to share something I love with people. But if all we're gonna do is argue about who I am, then I'd rather walk out that door." For a moment, it was unclear whether he was serious. The host sat frozen. The crew scrambled to decide whether to cut to commercial, and Jenna tried to speak, but Blake raised his hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "No hard feelings," he said, his voice calmer now but still heavy with frustration. "But I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I am done." And with that, Blake Shelton turned, nodded briefly to the stunned audience, and walked off the set of Today with Jenna Friends. The silence that followed was deafening. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment of the dramatic exit, as Jenna sat frozen in her chair, trying to process what had just happened. The audience, though shocked, couldn't believe they had just witnessed one of the most unexpected moments in morning show history. The producers quickly cut to an unscheduled commercial break, leaving viewers at home buzzing with questions, while inside the studio, whispers spread like wildfire. Had Blake Shelton really just walked out on live television? The answer, of course, was yes. The moment Blake Shelton walked off the set, the atmosphere inside the Today with Jenna Friends studio completely shifted. Audience members sat stunned, their eyes darting from Jenna to the empty chair where Blake had been just seconds earlier. Whispers filled the room, and a few people even pulled out their phones, eager to text friends about what they had just witnessed live. Behind the cameras, the producers were in chaos. The director barked through the headset, "Cut to commercial." "Cut to commercial now." The screen faded out for viewers at home, replaced by a cheery advertisement from a cleaning product. But inside the studio, the silence after Blake's exit was heavy. Jenna Bush Hager sat stiffly in her chair, trying to keep her composure. Her co-hosts glanced at her nervously, unsure if they should say something or let the awkward moment pass. Jenna finally broke the silence, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Well," she said with a nervous chuckle, "that was unexpected." The audience laughed lightly, though many sensed Jenna was shaken. When the show returned from commercial, Jenna addressed the situation directly. "If you're just joining us, we had Blake Shelton here earlier, and things got a little heated. Blake is very passionate about who he is and his music, and, well, sometimes emotions run high." She tried to move forward with the show, but the mood never fully recovered. Every segment that followed felt overshadowed by what had happened. Meanwhile, outside the studio, Blake Shelton was already gone. His black SUV pulled away from the curb as fans and paparazzi shouted his name. Inside the car, Blake leaned back in his seat, visibly frustrated. His longtime manager, who had been waiting by the vehicle, asked cautiously, "What happened in there?" Blake shook his head. "Same old story. They don't want Blake Shelton. They want some fake version of me. I'm not playing that game anymore." His phone buzzed relentlessly, messages from friends, fellow artists, and even Gwen Stefani, who had clearly already heard about the walk-off. Social media was exploding. Clips of the confrontation were spreading like wildfire across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, with fans and critics alike weighing in on what had just happened. Blake Shelton walks out began trending within the hour. Some fans defended him fiercely, "Greater than that's why I love Blake Shelton. He's real. He doesn't let people push him around." Others criticized his behavior, greater than walking out on Jenna was unprofessional. She asked a fair question. He overreacted. News outlets wasted no time. Articles popped up almost immediately with headlines like Blake Shelton storms off morning show after tense exchange and Jenna Bush Hager left stunned after heated clash with country star. Back inside the NBC offices, executives scrambled to handle the PR fallout. The producers of Today with Jenna Friends convened in a small conference room, replaying the footage over and over. One asked, "Do we issue a statement? Do we spin this as a misunderstanding?" Another producer replied, "We can't ignore it. Everyone's talking about it. We need Jenna to say something." Jenna herself was conflicted. On one hand, she didn't want to escalate the situation by responding defensively. On the other, she felt blindsided by Blake's reaction. In private, she confided to a colleague, "I wasn't attacking him. I was just doing my job. I didn't expect him to lash out like that." By afternoon, the entertainment world was buzzing. Talk show hosts, radio DJs, and bloggers all chimed in. Some speculated that Blake had been under stress from his tour schedule. Others hinted at personal issues behind the scenes. Theories swirled, each one more dramatic than the last. At one point, a clip of Gwen Stefani being asked by paparazzi about the incident circulated online. She smiled politely and said, "Blake is passionate, and sometimes that passion shows. He's still the same wonderful man I know. People will understand when they hear his side." That only fueled more speculation. By evening, Blake Shelton finally addressed the situation himself. From his ranch in Oklahoma, he recorded a short video on his phone and posted it to Instagram. Sitting in front of a fireplace with his guitar propped beside him, he looked calm but serious. "Hey, everybody. I just want to clear the air about what happened this morning. First off, I respect Jenna and her show. I didn't mean for things to go down the way they did, but I've always said I'm gonna be real with people. I'm not perfect, and I don't always handle things the way I should, but I'd rather be honest than sit there and pretend." I walked off because I felt cornered, not because I don't appreciate the platform. I hope folks understand where I'm coming from. The video racked up millions of views within hours. Supporters praised him for standing his ground, while critics accused him of playing the victim. Jenna, meanwhile, responded the next morning on the show. Dressed in a simple blouse and looking composed, she addressed the audience directly. "Yesterday, we had a moment with Blake Shelton that surprised a lot of people, including me. I want to say I admire Blake for his talent and his honesty. Interviews can sometimes take unexpected turns, and that's what happened. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he knows our door is always open." Her graceful statement drew applause from the audience and respect from viewers who praised her professionalism. Still, the viral nature of the incident ensured that the story lingered in the news cycle for days. Behind the scenes, Blake and Jenna's teams eventually connected. Privately, Blake called Jenna to apologize for walking out. Though he didn't take back what he said, he admitted he could have handled it better. Jenna accepted the apology warmly, telling him, "I never wanted it to get ugly. We just see things differently sometimes." The reconciliation didn't erase the incident, but it helped cool the media storm. In the weeks that followed, the clash between Blake Shelton and Jenna Bush Hager became one of those infamous TV moments people would reference again and again. Clips of Blake standing up and walking out were replayed on YouTube, late-night comedy shows, and even award show skits. Some fans said it revealed Blake's fiery side, others saw it as a crack in his polished public persona. Either way, it added another layer to his legacy, one that ensured people would be talking about the morning Blake Shelton walked out for years to come. And for Jenna, the incident proved her resilience. She had faced a storm head-on, handled it with grace, and came out stronger. The show's ratings even saw a brief spike, with curious viewers tuning in the next day to see how she would respond. In the end, both Blake Shelton and Jenna Bush Hager walked away with their reputations intact, if not slightly more complicated. The clash reminded everyone watching that live television is unpredictable, that even stars can have raw moments, and that authenticity, though messy, often makes the most lasting impression.